Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Fresh Cut Flowers webinar. This is our last webinar of the year, and it's about Christmas flowers. I'm Floralife's Global Marketing Coordinator, and together with Emma Bradford, our Technical Sales Representative, we're going to bring you some interesting information on Christmas flowers, and it'll be about 30 minutes. At the end, Emma can answer any of your questions that you have, so please use the chat function. Send us questions you have during the presentation, and at the end, Emma will do her very best to answer everything you have to ask. So before I hand the floor over to Emma, I just wanted to let you know this webinar is being recorded. The other webinars are all up on our Floralife YouTube channel, so definitely go and have a look at those, and enjoy the presentation. Take it away, Emma.
Thank you, Georgina. Well, hello, and welcome to the 10th and final webinar of the year. As Georgina just mentioned, my name is Emma Bradford, and I am the Floralife Technical Support Representative for the UK. And today we're going to talk all about Christmas flowers. So, going over our little roadmap of where I'll be taking you today. Firstly, I'll go over some types of greenery which are typically used in Christmas arrangements, how to care for those greens, some specific things to consider when using flowers and other Christmas seasonal crops and arrangements, and then I'll tell you how to care for a couple of popular seasonal plants, and lastly, I'll finish with everyone's favourite fun facts. So, going over some of the typical greens that are available about this time of year. First, you've got all your hollies, also known as ilex, that's the Latin name for it. Your mistletoe, your balsam fir, which is very fragrant, so that makes it very popular in arrangements, as well as its nadal retention. Then you've also got different types of eucalyptus, so your seeded eucalyptus, your silver dollar eucalyptus, your cedar branches, magnolia, your junipers, pine, your spruces, and redwoods. Now these are all very popular due to their being evergreen, which means that they don't shed their leaves, they're not deciduous, their leaves stay on year round. So now you know some of the types of greens that are available. How should you take care of them? Well, it starts with the initial quality. Always buy locally if you can, and have them arrive as close to the time that you need them as possible. This way, you will be sure that your greens will be as fresh as they can be. Then, when you've received them, store them at about 1 to 3 degrees Celsius and at about 75 to 85% humidity. You don't need to worry about storing them in buckets, as greens will happily stay fresh for a few weeks when stored dry at the correct temperature and humidity. Once you're ready to use them, submerging your greens in water overnight before taking them out of the cold storage will help them to freshen up a little bit. If you're using fresh cut whole trees in a display, make sure to really keep them hydrated. All you need to do is recut the base and place them in a large reservoir of water. Now, ideally, you would use a tree stand with a built-in reservoir. The trees will take up a large amount of water, especially during the first 3 days. So make sure to keep that water topped up so your tree doesn't dry out. This will also help to prevent that needles from dropping. On top of that, using an anti-transpirant spray, such as Floralife Crown and Glory, or a protectant spray, like Floralife Finishing Touch on your greens, trees, and cut flowers, will give additional protection against dehydration and keep your Christmas arrangements or displays looking fresher for longer. Now, if you're working on a winter wedding, these sprays are an absolute must for keeping bridal bouquets, corsages, and boutonnieres fresh throughout the day. And it does that by keeping the moisture locked into your flowers so it doesn't evaporate. Remember though, Not all Floralife products are available in all markets, so please check with your local Floralife representative for availability in your area. Then on top of doing all of those things, another way to make sure that your greens stay in tip-top condition is to mist your arrangement with water. But be careful. If you are doing this and you are using flowers in your arrangement too, make sure you only mist the greens and not the flowers. Why, I hear you ask? Well, it's because misting your flowers may lead to the dreaded botrytis. Because remember, warmth and humidity are what botrytis spores need to germinate, so only mist the greens. Now, if your arrangements contain a mix of greens and flowers, they also won't be too fond of extreme heat, cold, or draft. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not a big fan either. So display your arrangements there where they will receive an even temperature, not too hot, not too cold, but just right, just like Goldilocks. And lastly, the very best place to display only Christmas greens is outside, where the temperature is naturally cooler. Now, out of direct sunlight is the best, and if you're using fairy lights, also known as Christmas lights, with them, choose the LED type, which are cooler, and they don't give off heat. And remember, using real candles with open flames with your arrangement is never recommended. Now, even at Christmas time, we can't avoid our old foe, ethylene. So remember that holly berries, holly foliage, and balsam fir are ethylene sensitive. So make sure your supplier protects these crops with an anti-ethylene product, such as Floralife Ethyl Block, and avoid storing or displaying them close to fruits or fireplaces. So moving on to flowers. Although red roses are perfectly suited to Christmas arrangements, because they look beautiful, I mean, let's be honest, be aware that they may not be available in all markets at this time of year. And that's because many growers begin pruning their red rose plants early, so they will produce flowers in time for Valentine's Day. So double check on what is available in your area. So not a flower, strictly, but holly and mistletoe are as much a Christmas tradition as giving gifts and overindulging. But be aware, did you know they can be toxic too? Holly berries and all parts of the mistletoe plant can cause illness if eaten. So just use caution when using them in arrangements and displays. And remember that even if they are displayed out of reach, desiccated berries may fall off and drop to the ground. So just be aware. And then moving on to amaryllis. Now these tall beauties will add the wow factor to any Christmas arrangement. And for best results, I recommend hydrating them first or storing them on Floralife Bulb 100, and then using a Floralife Universal 300 flower food in the vase. Now again, not all Floralife products are available in all markets, so please check with your local Floralife representative for availability where you are. Now, one thing about amaryllis are that they are prone to cracking around the base. And this can be variety dependent, so some varieties will do it more than others. But if this is an issue for you, many florists have found that wrapping a small piece of floral tape around the bases of the cut stems will help to prevent this from occurring. Now, when it comes to Christmas plants, poinsettias are probably about the most well-known and notoriously difficult to keep happy. The secret to keeping a poinsettia alive is nice, even temperatures. Remember from the greens? No drafts, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Just like Goldilocks. Remember, poinsettias are delicate little flowers and are easily shocked, so keep those temperature fluctuations to a minimum. They also like to be kept moist, so not drying out. And the best way to make sure that they have the water they need is to water them from the bottom. Now, how you do that is you just let them sit in a source of water for about 10 minutes or so, and then take them out and put them back into their display pot or their wrapper. Whatever you do, don't let them sit in water for extended periods of time, as this can cause their roots to rot. Remember, plant roots need oxygen, just like us. And lastly, if after the holidays your poinsettia has lost most of its leaves and it's looking rather sad and pathetic, you have my full permission to bin it with absolutely no guilt, no remorse, and no looking back. Commercially grown poinsettias are artificially manipulated to bloom at Christmas time. And although they will happily survive through the Christmas period, it is nigh on impossible to provide the correct lighting and heating requirements they need to thrive in our homes. So give yourselves a break. And no, it's not your fault your poinsettia has died come New Year. Now with amaryllis, it is much easier. If you purchase a new bulb, it is guaranteed to bloom first time round. And watching it grow so quickly is one of the delights of Christmas. Or at least I think so. But I am a plant nerd after all. And I like to mark the base of the stem each day with a Sharpie or something else to track how its progress is. And it's amazing how fast they will grow. And to keep them happy, all you need to do is keep it moist. Again, don't let it sit in standing water too long or it will rot. Once it starts blooming, you should cut off the fading flowers, so one at a time, and this will help to keep the remaining flowers from blooming. Once all the flowers have faded, you can cut off the stalk at the base of the bulb, at the top of the base. Now, it is possible to make them rebloom, but it does require a period of dormancy and cold. So you can do it, but it's much easier to just buy a new bulb every year, trust me. And lastly, the easiest Christmas plant to keep alive, the Christmas cactus, which is not actually like your typical desert cactuses, which can withstand long period of drought. The Christmas cactus is a forest cactus, meaning, again, it likes to be kept moist. So keep it watered from below, just like with a poinsettia, and make sure it isn't sitting in standing water. Now, if you have an old Christmas cactus and you're struggling to get it to rebloom, just place it in a cool, dark place away from drafts for about 6 to 8 weeks, and this should trigger it to produce flowers again. And so, for the last time this year, let's finish with the fun facts. Now, did you know that Queen Victoria and Prince Albert are often credited with popularizing the tradition of decorating a Christmas tree? Well, they did make it fashionable, but branches of evergreens have been used to decorate the inside of homes for the winter solstice since Roman times. And the decorating of trees specifically can be traced back to Germany, and Martin Luther is actually credited with being the first person to add illuminations by decorating his tree with lit candles. Not recommended, by the way. Now, did you know that mistletoe is a semi-parasitic plant which uses its host tree as a source of water and nutrients? Now, it's only semi-parasitic because mistletoe does produce chlorophyll, so it can produce its own food too. Now, the origin of kissing under the mistletoe can be traced back to ancient Greece, where mistletoe is associated with fertility, and it was also used in wedding rituals. But on a grosser note, mistletoe seeds are actually spread by birds who eat the berries and then poop out the seeds on tree branches. Yummy. Now, moving on to evergreens. Did you know that tree needles are just a modified form of leaf? But they are designed to minimize as much water loss as possible. And that's because many evergreens need to withstand long periods of drought. But those trees grow mostly where it's cold and snowy, I hear you say. Well, you'd be right. But if the water is frozen, that means the trees can't take it up into their roots. So in essence, they are living through a drought. And as we know, they are very thirsty. That's why we need to make sure they are kept hydrated once they are cut, and why, when they are growing, they need to minimize how much water they lose. And lastly, our favorite Christmas plant, poinsettia. Now, I'm hoping you're not thinking that the red showy parts of the plant are the flowers, because I'm not going to lie, I'd be a bit disappointed in you all. The flowers are actually the small yellow part I've circled here, and they don't actually have any noticeable petals, just the anthers and the stigmas, so the business parts of the flower that they need. So if those red parts aren't petals, what the heck are they? I hear you ask. Well, those are bracts, also known as modified leaves, and they're not part of the flower at all. Also, as you can see, poinsettias can get pretty big, and they are actually grown as shrubs or hedges in places like Hawaii and southern Mexico. So now you see why they don't really do well in our homes. So just give yourselves all a break and ditch those dead poinsettias pronto. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Hi, Emma. Thank you for that. That was really interesting, especially those fun facts. We don't have any questions. I think everything was very clear to everyone, and I think everyone's very happy to know that they're not the ones killing their poinsettias, but that it's just the way they are.
Yeah.
Well, to all our attendees, everyone who's joined throughout the year, thank you. And Emma and I wish you guys happy holidays and the best wishes for next year. And definitely keep an eye out for our planning for next year. So we're going to come back with some interesting topics. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, if there are any webinars you want to rewatch, definitely go to our YouTube channel, our Flora Life YouTube channel, to play the webinars again. Thank you for your time and have a great day.